All right, we are rolling. I've been thinking a lot about the lessons that I've learned in trail running and how that carries over into building and running my business. And the mountain itself has taught me a lot about resilience, discipline, and consistency, which is something that I talk about a ton here, which is like the consistency side of everything. But one thing that might surprise you is like how much of that mindset carries over into being a founder and running and building a business. From managing stress to building systems, training really has shaped how I act and operate in my professional life. And I wanted to share just a couple of like the lessons that I carry from the trail and straight into, the office or client meetings. And the first one really is around, or I titled it, Consistency Over Intensity. As a runner, I know we all know that one killer workout isn't going to change your fitness by a dramatic number or a dramatic amount, right? It's all about like incremental gains. And it's not about like that one workout that made the big difference. It's the steady work, the daily miles, the quiet reps. Those moments, those group of moments, that's what builds real results. And in business, it's the same thing. A single viral piece of content won't build a brand. One sales spike won't build a loyal customer base. And I focus really on showing up every day. And I think about that consistency over intensity element. Consistency beats random intensity in running and in leadership. And it's a nice segue into lesson 2, which I categorized progressive overload, which for the athletes is going to be a familiar term. And we know that progression is built on small steps. You can't run the same pace or lift the same weight forever. Your body adapts and it grows. And in business, that's how I challenge myself and how I think about challenging my team. We raise the bar bit by bit, whether it's customer experience, marketing, or products and services. Gradual overload makes it sustainable. And it reminds me of something that I've got on my soapbox a ton in the past, which is around, people wanting to do too much too soon or too fast too soon when it comes to running. And I get it, right? We're all excited. We want the super sexy workouts. And I think about that with business too, where it's like, yeah, we want the great, beautiful, sexy things. But most of the time it's the slow, steady, easy stuff that wins. And thinking about lesson number 3, which was scheduling recovery, which is a big focus area for me in the last year, and as I've shared in many videos and in the past year around recovery. In training, if you ignore recovery, you break down. In business, if you ignore rest, you burn out. And it's like, as a founder and as an athlete, I have this like push and pull of like pushing myself physically and then pushing myself mentally, right? So trying to find that perfect balance of both you can't do 110% of each at the same time. And today I really make a strong effort to schedule my recovery, whether it's through a digital detox, sleep, huge one that I've been focused on, light days, right? Maybe today we're not hitting as hard on the mountain, or maybe today we don't have as many meetings that we need to attend. Recovery isn't a weakness. It's how you protect your progress for the long haul. And I love that. And I want to repeat that one. Recovery isn't a weakness. It's how you progress. It's how you protect your progress for the long haul. And in thinking about the long haul and things that happen throughout the journey, it makes me think about the next lesson, which is track the data, which I know the athletes, especially the runners that watch this. As an athlete, I look at data. We look at data. Heart rate, HRV, pace, elevation gain, whatever it may be. And in business, I measure the same thing. I measure too. Whether it's engagement, frequency on content, how many meetings scheduled, how many deals won, retention rate. You can't improve what you don't track. And I think it's important to understand that the metrics that you track can be different for different people because we're in different places, whether it's in our career or athletic journey. The metrics can change, right? There can be certain times where you're focusing on a specific business unit or element of your training, and that will change, based on seasons or the year, whatever it may be. So whether it's a long run or a new marketing funnel, numbers tell the story. So we always want to have data to track. And this last lesson is, this is my favorite one. It's pretty close to the consistency over intensity one. That's why I put that at the top. And I was thinking through this one because I feel like this is something that I value, not just for myself, but for the people that I work with, whether it's partners, athletes, or team members. And I titled this one, Grit is the Secret Sauce. Grit is the secret sauce. And honestly, the biggest crossover is grit. Trail running taught me how to keep going on those hard days. When business feels like an uphill grind, deal fell through, the market changes, you flopped on a meeting or a presentation and you just sucked, and it's that's when the resilience kicks in. That's when that mentality of it was supposed to happen that way. And whenever those moments happen, you mess up a meeting, you lose a deal, a website update or whatever it may be. You're editing a piece of content and it's just not turning out the way that you envisioned in your head. You don't panic. You don't quit. You keep moving. And sometimes that moving means walking away from the screen. It means maybe not doing that last set and saying, hey, my body's telling me no. And I think about that too with the walk away, and I probably should have mentioned this in the recovery, where it was I was recently in Italy for a wedding, and I didn't realize how good that was for my mental and physical, because I didn't run or work the whole time I was there. It was great. It's so much clarity. But back to grit. Without grit, it sounds harsh to say, but you're never gonna make it without grit. If you have big goals and are trying to do something big or crazy, right? And big is subjective to the individual. You need grit. And as I think about where I'm at in my life at 37 years old, I'm not interested in only being an athlete or only being a founder. Those two personas is who I am. Building those two personas is who I am. If you're trying to balance big training goals with big business goals, remember that those skills transfer. They're interconnected, right? There's a lot of carryover. It's like the yin and yang of everything. And there's something there to the founder athlete, the athlete founder, whatever it may be. And that's how I think about it. I didn't realize how much being in the mountains has taught me and prepared me for this stage in my career. It's exciting. Sometimes it's nerve-wracking, but most of the time it's exciting. And I truly believe that I'm ready for this.